We are Si and Sophie. This is Coastal News, a home and away podcast, your weekly episode companion podcast for your favourite Aussie soap.
Right, you ready for a scrap, Sophie?
Uh-oh. Have we started a fight? Who are we fighting?
Roll your sleeves up. This is serious business.
Serious podcast. Yeah.
One of the great rivalries that there ever was.
Grant versus Phil Mitchell.
Not quite.
Oh.
Man City and Man United.
Football.
Diving. Football on this
I
pod.
don't know anything about football. I know. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about football.
Good
Sorry.
thing you're on the right podcast. Day versus night.
Oh.
Sweet, savoury.
Yeah.
Salt and pepper.
Yeah.
Home and away. And neighbours.
Boo! Did you just say the N?
Know.
Did you just say the N word near
Yeah.
me?
Swear word in these places. Swear word.
I need a bath.
I don't know if you've heard, but there's a new channel called Shiwi.
Yes,
it's
I have
back.
heard.
It's on
Yeah.
its 9th life.
Yeah.
And some of our friends who love it for some strange reason. They have a podcast about it, the Neighbourhood Rewatch.
Oh, yeah.
We've worked with them before,
Yeah.
and they wanted to go head to head with us and battle it out to find out who is the best. Answer that age-old question: team neighbours, team home and away.
Clearly, home and away, but yeah, we'll give them a shot,
So,
I guess.
give it. Yeah, we thought, why not? So we've put our heads together and we've come up with this new series. It's Coastal News podcast versus the Neighbourhood Rewatch podcasts. Go and check them out if you haven't already. Great podcast watching. They've got a huge catalogue of all the old Neighbours that they've rewatched, and they're also picking up Neighbours now it's on Shiwi. So they're doing a weekly thing like you and I do, recapping all the eps, but they're managing to squeeze us in to do a little bit of I was gonna say a little
Battle.
Yeah.
A battle royale.
Yeah,
Battle
basically.
royale.
This is the very first episode. Week 1, we're doing show legends. So we bring our show legend from home and away. They bring their show legend from Neighbours, and we battle it out. Want to hear what happened?
Yeah, I do.
Please take the time to like, subscribe, and review Coastal News wherever you source your podcasts and ensure you never miss an episode.
Welcome to the Neighbourhood Rewatch versus Coastal News. This is a very special podcast because we're here to answer the question that is as old as time: which Aussie soap is better? Is it Neighbours or is it Home and Away? So me, JK, the host of the Neighbourhood Rewatch, with my co-host Adam,
all right,
has decided to battle with Si and Sophie of Coastal News.
Hello.
We're going to fight it out and see who comes out on top.
this is to the death, right? There can be only one.
I mean, does it need to be asked, really? Come on.
We've picked a category, which is going to be the show legend. Si and Sophie, do you want to go first with who your show legend is?
Yeah, cool. So we've picked Irene Roberts, long-standing character introduced into Home and Away in 1991. So she's a veteran. Do you want me to give you a bit of a backstory about Irene?
Yes, please.
I have no idea who she is.
No idea who she is. Have you never watched Home as you guys?
I've never seen it.
Never seen it?
No, I've heard it's like Neighbours but bad. But I don't. I'm joking. No, honestly, do it as if we are from Mars and we haven't got a clue.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so Irene originally was cast as a bit of a negative, hateful kind of character. So she came into the show as an alcoholic who had been through a lot of stuff in her life. She was a very terrible mother. She was actively hated.
Sorry, was her first scene her just bursting through the door with a bottle of rum, just go, hey!
Pretty much. Her kids have been taken into care. So obviously Home and Away of old is about sort of Pippa and the foster family. So there was like this house and Pippa and Tom that were fostering lots of kids. And that's how the show is kind of known by a lot of the fans. It came from these kind of broken homes, kids waiting strays, that kind of thing. So when Irene literally hit the bay, she came back to find her kids because she's got 3 kids and they've been taken into care by Pippa and Tom. So she rocked up and she was hated. She was absolutely hated by not just the characters in the show, but also the audience as well. They absolutely hated Irene. Like, she was slated. And I suppose that's why we've picked her, because she's gone from being this character that everybody absolutely hated to being this lovable. You know, we did a poll recently on our podcast about who's the best character on the show, and she was up there. She was in the top 2, you know, most lovable characters. So to go from that to most lovable, I just think that's why we picked her, really. So
legend.
That
does sound like a hell of a redemption story right there.
It is. She got a second chance, and not many people on soaps get one. Not many people go from villain to hero. They go the other way, don't they? They tend to be like a hero and then they turn into the villain.
It's long enough to become the villain.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I love a good, well, as you say, redemption kind of thing. I like that. I think, yeah, it's great to see a bad guy turn themselves around and everything. Has she ever dabbled back into being like a bit of a villain?
She's gone back. She's been on and off the wagon a few times, hasn't she? She's had a few kind of, moments off the wagon that have not gone too well, but she's always...
If she's back on the grog, she's a backhander.
Bad Irene, yeah. I quite like her on the grog, though, to be fair. Quite funny.
Well, I don't think we could have gone for a more different person for our show legend. We have gone for Harold Wayne Bishop.
Oh, Jelly Belly.
Jelly Belly. Possibly the most God-fearing, doesn't drink at all, completely teetotal, completely vegetarian. Nothing bad enters that man's body. Yeah, and he started the show in 1987. He's a Salvation Army volunteer, owner and manager of many catering businesses, and he's been married 3 times as well. But he was introduced to the show as a potential love for Madge. They were apparently high school sweethearts. That story probably lasted about 10 years before they actually got together. Which, if I can go first with our kind of first point, is one of the reasons Harold is the best, is that he got the girl, he got Madge, he got his childhood sweetheart. She went off and married someone else, came back, divorced that dude, had 2 kids by him. Harold, and then those kids were like, we used to hear loads about that Harold dude all the time from when Mum was a kid. Let's ring him up, see if he wants to get with our mum. So Charlene rings him and he shows up at the door. They get engaged after a long... What's the word? A wooing?
I wouldn't have said
courtship.
Yeah, it's not
Courtship.
wooing. Courtship is a much better word.
Harold would say wooing, I think. He actually broke off the engagement as well at one point. So Charlene had moved in with Scott, of course.
You're saying Charlene moved in Scott like that's not Kylie and Jason here. Like, that's a huge thing. That's a big deal. That's part of it as well. They got... Kylie Minogue brought Harold into this show. That's pretty big.
That is pretty good. Were you testing to see if that went right over our head?
No, I was just checking to see if Jay actually remembered that's who those people were.
So yeah, Charlene shacks up with Scott, and Harold is like, I can't believe this. They're shacking up before they've got married, out of wedlock. I'm a devout Christian. I am not standing for this. So he says to Madge, if she doesn't move back in with us, we're not getting married. And surprisingly, he sticks to his guns. Charlene, being the scamp that she is and the defiant devil that she is, was like, "No, fuck yous. I'm gonna stay with Scott. Thank you very much." So Harold's like, "Right, well, see you later, Madge. I am done," and breaks it off. Man's a manic conviction.
That was your point. Good. Okay, so he's a man of conviction. Because otherwise, you're just going to tell. He started in 1987 and he's still in it now. This is going to be a long-ass podcast if you just tell everything that happened from day one. He's a man of conviction, guys.
He's a man of conviction.
Man of conviction, tick.
Conviction.
Right then.
Over to
He's
you
not
two,
like
then.
your scumbag legend who drinks all the time. This guy's got morals. He's got principles. He's a man of conviction. And even if Kylie Minogue gives him some shit, he puts his foot down. There you go.
Right, well, we'll take your conviction and we're going to put in redemption, right? We've already touched on it.
Yep.
We actually call in this 5 Reasons to Love Rini. The original name was It's Not All About Alf. You know, it's the unsung hero. So how many people can batter their kids, go to prison, and still be like everyone's mum and granny by the end of it? Not many, but Rini can. So, there's not many characters, we touched on it before, that can go through this redemption arc that Irene has. And she's now become, she's also teetotal, so she matches Harold on that for now. And when she's lucid, she's great. Everyone goes to her for advice. She takes in lodgers who are homeless, or, you know, they've been kicked out of the caravan park because they've, you know, had a party and Alf don't like it or what have you. They always wind up at Irene's, all the wrong uns, and she'll feed them up and give them a place to stay. And it's a far cry from kicking her own kids down the stairs, which literally happened. What's probably quite sad about it is she does all this because she's trying to make up for what a terrible mum she was. And we'll come on in a bit, because one of the things she does to make up is one of our points as to why she is a ledge and a reason why you should love Rini. But yeah, she spends her whole life making up for the bad, and everybody loves her.
Has she, in your eyes, both your eyes, has she made up for it, or does she still have some work to do? Because it sounds like she's been on it a long time. It sounds like she was an absolute terror. Has she now sorted it in your eyes?
Yeah, or we just pretend old Irene doesn't exist. One of the two.
I'm starting to think this says more about you, Si, and your own morals and things. If you're turning a blind eye at this terrible person, I'm worried.
Listen, anyone who can, a kid. Am I kidding? No. Yeah.
Sounds like my Friday morning. I like that though. I do. As I said, I love a redemption kind of thing. So I think you're onto a winner there. That sounds pretty good. Have we got anything that we can add to our long-winded story that you told earlier? Have we got anything else to say?
I suppose the next point I wanted to make is that it's not redemption, but he does, apart from his relationship with Madge, he has a very, very key friendship. Harold Bishop and Lou Carpenter. Love rivals. They've been love rivals since high school. They both wanted to love Madge. When Harold broke off that engagement with Madge, Lou was straight back on the scene. And he was a millionaire at this point as well. So he showed up, he'd sold a fuck ton of cars, and he was an absolute millionaire. So he's just showering Madge with gifts. Harold won out in the end because he's the good guy. He hasn't kicked anybody downstairs. So he won out in the end, but he was still willing to be Lou's best mate after it all. No hard feelings, even though you every single moment he's tried to one up Harold and show that Lou is the better man and try and win Madge's affections.
Some of our favourite moments, I think, over the last few episodes, well, the episodes we watched during this period of time, some of our favourite bits are the comedy and the things that have gone on between them. So they've gone through like their tough times and they've really fallen out and they've cheated, they've tried to one up each other, they've backstabbed, they've done all that, but there's been some great comedy moments as well, which have always made us laugh. And for some reason, they always end up in the same hospital room with beds next to each other. Harold gave him his was it his kidney? What was he giving him?
He gave him a kidney.
He sounds like he's good nature and his lovable things you love about him make him a bit of a mug.
He can be.
Are people taking advantage of him here, guys?
I think they are sometimes. I think you're quite right. But then a couple of our points, one of them especially, shows that Harold Bishop is no pushover. And he's not someone to be trifled with. So, yeah, he is very good-natured. He'll do anything for anyone. But unfortunately, occasionally, Ramsey Street's got a lot of knobheads in it, and they do take the piss out of him sometimes. Would that happen to Irene, or is she too street smart and savvy for that kind of behaviour?
Well, one of our points also touches on that, so we'll come to that. Maybe we'll put a pin in that, Adam. But yeah,
Okay.
there's some knobheads hanging about the bay as well.
Maybe that can be the next one. Biggest knobhead. You bring your best knobhead. We'll bring our best knobhead.
I'll bring you. Go for it. What's your next Irene reason for Irene?
Go for it, Soph.
Wow, you raised us a kidney, and I will raise you a baby, because we told you before that Irene's got 3 children, 3 biological children, that she lost when she was an alcoholic. They went into foster care. It took a long time for her to come back and sort of get back in their lives, and she worked really hard to get back on side with them, and eventually they did all make up, happy families in the end. But one of her children, Finlay, she couldn't have kids of her own. So one day she turned up at Irene's door and she said, I need you to be a surrogate for me because I can't have children of my own. And Irene agreed. And she actually flew to America to have the procedure done, because they weren't allowed to do that in Australia at the time. It wasn't legal. So she flew to America, and she was basically implanted with Finlay's child and gave birth to Finlay's child. And it's part of this redemption story that we talked about earlier, where she realizes that she was a pretty crappy mum when the kids were growing up. So she kind of since then has gone out of her way to try and make that up to them, and not just with her own kids, but also with fostering as well. So she's had, I don't know how many foster kids. I don't know whether we could probably even estimate. So probably 30 odd foster kids. Easily. And she does anything for these foster kids, including fighting 2 cults and getting her foster kids back from the evil clutches of cults, including one cult that actually kidnapped her grandson that she gave birth to, and she had to fight to get him back from the cult leader.
Ooh. What was this cult?
It was called Saul's cult, and what were they called? Children of Saul.
Children of Saul, yeah. We've had a few cults, so we have to think. Children of Saul.
Children of Saul. She fought Children of Saul to get her, because they kidnapped her grandchild that she gave birth to, and she had to fight to get him back.
Harold's never done that.
No, kidney or baby, I don't know which one.
Pretty good.
I'm sorry, I'm really interested in this cult. What were their main beliefs in this cult? What was their gimmick?
I can't actually remember what their main beliefs were. It seemed to be that the creepy old guy that ran the cult just like shagging all the young ladies and getting them pregnant. And
that's every
cult ever.
So that's definitely a cult.
It was that kind of cult.
Yeah, the next cult was, she was involved in that. They were called the Believers, weren't they?
Yeah.
And they needed an oracle baby or something, didn't they?
They wanted the second Jesus or something, didn't they? They wanted the second coming of Christ or something. Yeah.
And we've just had a doomsday cult about a month ago. Yeah. Irene wasn't there for that.
In like the writer's room at home and away, if they just got one of them big wheels and they just spin it, cult again, we've got to do it. Like, is that how it works?
I think it is. I think it's cult, arson, poisoning, bombing. I think there's a big spinning wheel.
And I think they've got our podcast on, because everything we said like 12 months ago seems to have
happened.
Nice.
So we're planting some things here.
That's good. What would you like to see? What they not done, but you're thinking, it's about time they did a...
Well, I've been asking them to kill off a character for ages, and they've just blown her up, and she's not dead.
Wow.
Maybe she's under contract. That's the next best thing.
Yeah.
How blown up is she? Is she still not dead? Is
she's in intensive care at the moment.
She's been airlifted out of the bay, hasn't she?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
She got all the limbs?
Yes, unfortunately, she is all in one piece. I think she's going to make a full recovery and come back. So I'm really annoyed.
Fingers crossed. You never know.
Yeah.
I reckon that kind of brings us on to our next one. Like, Harold is pretty much bulletproof. He is. I mean, we've got a couple. We'll do the obvious one in a second, but he once, I'm just reading the notes you sent me earlier because I didn't know a couple of these things. He crashed his car and broke both his arms, and this is what made Madge finally go, he's the guy for me.
That's her type. Wow, neat.
That's what she went for. He might have been just for the sympathy, I don't know. But
there'd be no wandering hands, I suppose.
That's
exactly.
true. Yeah.
And that's not something we'd recommend if you are, after somebody. Like, don't purposely crash your car in order to do that and hope for 2 broken arms, because that's hard work. But then another time, he was doing a little bit of power walking, as Harold tends to do.
He's got to keep his shape,
Yeah, he was doing a little bit of that side of the road. Got sideswiped by a car, just clipped him. It wasn't too bad, but it did make him go blind.
What?
So so it wasn't a cracked rib. It wasn't like broken leg. It wasn't like something he couldn't walk. He wasn't in a wheelchair or anything like that. He went blind. No idea how that happened. It was something to do with either his eyes coming out or his retinas detached or something.
Yeah, his retinas had been detached because he got
what it was.
sideswiped by this car.
It was ridiculous.
I think you've got the same wheel in your writer's room over there in Erinsborough.
Possibly. What can be wrong with him this week? Retinas. Brilliant. But they did that, and then so he was back in that hospital bed with Lou, just basically taking the piss out of him for being blind for at least a couple of weeks. Like these eyes were taped up. Nobody really did anything to help him, which happens on Neighbours a lot. I don't know if it happens on Home and Away, where they give him like a disaster and the like your exploding character there, and then don't do anything for him. Just after a little bit of time, they're okay.
Sometimes that happens, but sometimes we get like open surgery on the show, don't we? We get like people with a tool, with a drilling tool, operate. Just a GP from the hospital just operating on somebody.
Doing brain surgery with a hand drill. Yeah.
Yes, random.
But the waters are very healing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
that's salty water.
That was the last little bit with Harold being, indestructible. The waters, as we all know, huge storyline. You didn't have to watch Neighbours to know about it. Harold died and came back again. He got washed out to sea. All that was left were his glasses, his spectacles in a little rock pool. And Madge was giving it the Harold, the croaky Madge call that she's known for. And he'd gone. He basically just fucked off for a year. Don't know what happened contract wise, if there was a reason for that. I don't know if there's any behind the scenes stuff, but Harold was gone. People were sad.
It was 4 or 5 years. It wasn't years.
4 or 5 years?
It was about 4 or 5 years, yeah.
Goodness me.
And
it turned out he was living in Tasmania.
Playing his tuba.
Well, that's where he learnt the tuba. In Tasmania. He washes up on a beach in Tasmania and goes, I've got no fucking clue who I am, but that instrument looks like loads of fun. He adopts the name Ted, and to be honest, I said he was a man of conviction before. He gets about his life like he was before. He joins the Salvation Army again. He starts volunteering. He starts working at a cafe. He just steps back into his old Harold life, but under a new name, Ted. But then one day he does get transferred back to Erinsborough for the Salvation Army and shows up in a shop. And Helen Daniels was like, "Wait a minute, you're fucking Harold?" And he goes, "No, my name's Ted. Nice to meet you. I'm going to be working at the Salvo shop now." So he just shows back up. No fucking clue. He meets Madge. They do this convoluted thing, and then he meets Madge. And he's like, "Yeah, I don't know who you are. Sorry."
How does he remember? How does he become Harold again? Because I don't really know this.
So he gets quite friendly with everyone. He likes it in Erinsborough. He's enjoying meeting all the neighbours for the first time again. He likes Lou. He thinks Lou's brilliant. He's not so keen on Madge. But he's having dinner around at Lou's house. Lou brings over a big fucking plate of jelly and goes, "Here you are, Jelly Belly. Here's some jelly." And then, bang, it all comes flooding back.
No!
The entire thing just comes flooding back.
Please tell me that was on screen, like, they did a big wavy, yeah.
Yeah, they would have done. Wow, that's how he remembers his Harold.
Yeah.
There you go.
But yeah, he died and came back to life. If he was going to start a cult, I think Harold would be a good start. I think he'd be a good messianic figure.
True.
I do as well, from what you tell
Rising
us.
from the dead. Yeah.
Beat that home and away.
Well, she's never died and come back to life, but she's been close. We've got a similar point here. She's got 9 lives. So not just like with near-death experiences, because what soap character wouldn't have that? I've been on a soap for 30 odd years, but also with the law. So, first of all, she's been poisoned. A lover was poisoning her slowly. Was it what was he poisoning her with? Was it zinc or something? What was it?
Oh, I can't remember. It was some kind of metal. Yeah.
Yeah, she was going through a phase of drinking lots of tea, clearly, and she was slowly losing her mind in the name of love. She, as we said, she had a huge retcon to her character. Was that she was helping a youngster with some online abuse, and it was a sexual assault in the end, wasn't it? And that brought back memories. It unleashed a memory of her own sexual assault that she had a child by, but had forgotten about that for 30 years. So she's had a close shave with a rapist. She's been kidnapped a couple of times now, and she survived a bomb at the hospital, luckily. You're already there. But she did, unbeknownst to her, transport it there in a laptop bag. So it was all her fault, really. But she was blown up in the hospital, along with half the River Boys. Have you never heard of the River Boys? Even if you don't watch Home and Away.
They sound like a good gang, though. Tell us about the River Boys.
I thought they were like a boy band or something. Who are the River Boys?
Criminal gang from the Abbey Creek, aren't they? Well, no, from Mangrove River.
Sex, drugs, rock and roll.
All the good stuff.
Yeah, tats, music, women, money laundering. They were brought in, I think, to shake it up a bit. So it divides the audience, the old audience and the young audience. You either love them or you hate them.
Any fishing since they're at a river? I mean, you've got to eat, right?
So the River Boys are based on a real life gang called the Bra Brothers from Sydney, and they're just called River Boys because they're from a town called Mangrove River.
Oh, okay. So
this town is like Moss Side. Like, don't
it's a scary place.
Yeah. And whenever there's a whodunit, who's top prime suspect? Irene. So there was a massive villain in the noughties, Angie Russell, and she was found dead. Turned out she was killed by her own son. But because Irene had beef with her, didn't like her at all, probably had a couple of drinks, and she was, framed for her murder. Did she do time for that? She definitely got arrested.
She got arrested, but I think she was charged, but then released, wasn't she? Yeah.
That's it. Another villain, Charlotte, sort of about 6 years ago, she wound up shot in the bottom of the sea pool. And there was one of those soap things where they film 9 different endings, and you're like, it's Irene. It's going to be Irene. And she was banged up again for shooting Charlotte because she had beef with her as well. That turned out to be a young lad who was supposed to be blind, but his sight came back and he didn't tell anybody. So he shot this woman and he said, it couldn't have been me, I'm blind.
Great alibi, that.
So she did get off in the end. So yeah, she also is always nearly dying or always nearly disappearing and getting banged up, but she's not come back from the dead, I will admit.
Is she the scapegoat on Home and Away? Is she often like, oh well, what should we do? Let's just make it Irene. Let's what can we get her to do now? Does that happen quite a lot, do you think?
Probably not as much as you think.
Oh.
Be better if it was, because for most part she's just serving coffee in the diner. She owns the diner, by the way. She owns the diner. So
she owns
the
diner.
Owner. Yeah.
Harold owns the coffee shop. There you go. We have got a bit of symmetry going on here, I think.
Yeah.
So she, for the most part, sort of serves coffee and dishes out advice, right? So it's a bit of a yeah, if she could be the scapegoat a bit more often, that'd be good.
Okay.
A reputation, very easy to gain and very hard to shake off.
True.
Right, that's a little bit.
That was
little bit of
deep.
JK wisdom dropped in there.
Too proud. You were far too proud of that yourself, Dan. What Christmas card did you read that in? That's a shocker.
It's only because I've got a reputation myself. So
You know all too well. Yeah.
Okay, so our final point then.
We're on to the final one?
Yeah, we're on to the final one, yeah.
Okay, go for it.
So why Harold is the best is because even though we've told you he's a great guy, he sticks to his convictions, he's a man of God, he's unkillable, basically, at this point. But Adam alluded to it before, if you do push Harold, he does have a line that does get crossed. And if you push him over that line, he will walk into your house on Boxing Day and try and strangle you to death.
Don't fuck with Harold. Here's why.
With like a proper little, like almost like a piano wire. He did it like, do you know those Hitman games where you walk behind you and you garrote someone? So a little bit of backstory. Paul Robinson, the resident kind of show bastard. That'll be another good category to do, I'm sure, down the line. Show bastard. So both Harold's kids have died. Kerry got shot on a duck hunt years ago, protesting the duck hunt, saying, "Don't hunt ducks, it's dangerous."
She was right, to be fair.
She fucking proved her point. So she's been dead for a while, but then his son David went on a plane ride, a joy ride, and I think it was Lassiter's, which Paul Robinson owns, the hotel firm. He's world ride around the world, Lassiter's. There's like a bit of a PR stunt, and he puts David Bishop on this plane with his family, and Paul Robinson's son blows it up. So Harold and the Bishop family dies. Son's granddaughter as well. The whole Bishop dynasty is gone.
Not Harold, though, because Harold wasn't on the plane.
Not Harold.
Harold was back there, and he do like this very like, "Oh, if I've not said it before, I love you, son. I wish we'd got together a little bit sooner, but at least we've got all the time now."
Oh no!
And then he gets on the plane and it blows up.
Yeah.
So Harold, understandably, he's pissed off about this.
Oh yeah, and now the whole lineage depends on him.
Yeah, at that age.
And with his very high morals as well. He isn't getting about town anymore. He's. So talk about him strangling Paul then.
Yeah, so it's Boxing Day.
Get to it.
It's Boxing Day. He's been to church on Christmas Day, of course he has, and he's convinced himself. He's read some passages in the Bible, and he's convinced himself that in the name of God, the right thing to do is to strangle Paul Robinson to death. So Boxing Day, he wakes up, gets completely normal, makes himself a coffee, gets the newspaper, walks over next door. Paul Robinson's on the phone, garrots him from behind, strangles him, leaves him for dead, gets back to his house, starts doing the gardening and singing to himself. Just sings a nice little prayer to himself. But Paul Robinson doesn't die, unfortunately. So Harold then spends the next couple of months just tormenting the guy, ringing him up at hospital and just shouting Bible verses down at him. And
He said it was nice.
Did Harold, was there any comeuppance for him? Did he get away with this? What was the crack with it?
In the end, Paul Robinson, he figured out, I think it was because I think he was shagging Izzy Hoyland at the time. She figures out it was Harold who'd done all this and tells Paul. And then Paul goes to the police, but then turns away and goes, "Nah, do you know what? I am a bit of a show bastard." So,
and he is the show legend.
Yeah. So again, and if I tried to kill him or tried to get him incarcerated, he'd just come back anyway. So
yeah, that's true.
We'll just call it quits right there. We'll call it evens.
There you go. Even Paul, the biggest show bastard on the show, thought probably won't fuck with Harold.
Wow.
So science.
Jelly belly boomerang always comes back.
Yes, Soph. So your final retort, please.
Off the back of that, I was thinking, what about Mick and the lamp?
Okay.
I don't know. It's up to you.
She's going off script. Go for it.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it. Go off script. I write a script and then frequently go off it within minutes, so it's
Yeah.
fine.
I didn't
Really
write the
annoying.
script, so I don't want to take responsibility for going off it.
I usually write the script, send it to Adam, and then instantly go off it. And Adam goes, "You didn't do any of what you sent me and what you wrote down."
So, as we alluded to earlier, Irene had 3 children that we knew of at the beginning. So she had these 3 kids that were taken off her, they went into foster care, and she came back and she did the redemption thing and got back in with them, had her grandkid and all that, everything else that we just talked about. But as Si mentioned earlier, there was this weird retcon that happened, whereby we found out that actually her uncle's friend had sexually assaulted her when she was younger, prior to her having her 3 kids that we knew about. And she had given birth to another child called Mick. And this story came around, I don't know, was it about 2010-ish that this came out? I can't remember now, Si. You have to remind me when this happened. It was a long time ago. I can't remember. It was a long, long time ago. So this all came about, and she actually reconciled with this child and started to build a relationship with him, but he was wrong, and to cut a long story short. And I don't think she wanted to see it at first, because I think she had all this guilt about giving him away and how he'd been conceived and everything else. So she had,
and it drove her back to the drink, didn't it?
It did.
So,
yeah.
Nasty twitch.
That's all we need.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a very dividing storyline among the fans, I think, because the retcons, they tend to be Marmite, don't they? Because you take a character that we've known for years and years and years, and then you throw something in, and then everyone's like, "What? No, not Irene, or not Marilyn, or whatever, whoever the storyline is involving." They tend to be Marmite. But I loved this storyline. I thought it was great. I don't know about you, Si. I don't know whether you.
Yeah, it was
we didn't know each other at the time, did we? So if only we had a podcast back then. So it turns out that Mick is a bit of a wrong one, and actually he's kind of like a bit of a chip off the old block in terms of his dad that sexually assaulted Irene. And she walks into her house one day when he's living with her, and he's actually trying to sexually assault one of her foster kids, and she manages to rip him off the foster kid and hit him with the nearest thing that came to hand, which was a lamp, and just cracks him round the head. And she's sort of standing over his body with this lamp just sort of shaking, isn't she, at this point? Like, what have I done? I've brained my child who was trying to rape my foster kid. And she just very calculatingly puts him in the car, drives him to hospital, and dumps him on the doorstep and drives away.
Wow. Did she get away with it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So far, touch wood.
Did she put him in a hospital? In a mental hospital after that?
I think he did go into psychiatric care after that. Yeah.
Wow. So Irene's not to be trifled with either.
No.
She has stepped up there. That's pretty cool. I like that.
From the storylines you're telling me as well, Home and Away sounds a lot racier than Neighbours.
Oh, it is. I wasn't allowed to watch Home and Away when I was a child. I was allowed to watch Neighbours when I was growing up, but I was banned from watching Home and Away when I was a kid. We used to have to sneak down and watch it on the telly when Mum wasn't.
Yeah, how are they getting away with this at the time that they're showing it?
I know, it's always, when it was back on ITV back in the day, it used to be cut to smithereens.
Yeah.
Channel 5 don't seem to do it since it moved channels, but it was 15 minutes long some days because it was that dangerous. Back on ITV, but it's always been a bit more darker. Yeah. Even to this day, you have to say that you're over 16 to play it on My5.
Wow.
Most days.
Wow.
I did not know this. I'm on the wrong show here. This is sounds a lot more fun.
There's a
story
story
like the surface of this. Either this is like the teeniest tiny bit.
We have but very quickly, there's a storyline at the moment. There's a band there's a band in the show at the minute, and I've heard
you bitch about this band before.
I like it.
They use the word. She's lying. Use the word rock, fast and loose.
It's not rock. No,
they
haven't got a drummer. They haven't got a bloody drummer, so it's not rock music.
So they don't even have a producer anyway. So they were at this gig watching this band. One of the characters, one of the popular young ones, one of the hot hot couple. There's like, there's a power couple, young couple on front of all the magazines and stuff. So she gets sexually assaulted.
She got
and
spiked.
she got spiked, she got sexually assaulted. And as if that storyline's not bad enough, she's now being blackmailed by her assaulter with a video threatening to release a video of said assault at 1:00 in the afternoon.
So it's like
Madness.
a revenge porn type thing, but with someone that she doesn't even remember because she was unconscious at the time of the attack. And it is dark.
It sounds like a lot of these episodes. You know what? Like I think they used to do it on like Hollyoaks and things like that when they put if you're experiencing this, phone this number. It sounds like
Every
that might
episode
happen
is
to
like
a
that.
lot of Home and Away episodes.
Every
It's nuts.
episode.
At the end of Neighbours, it just says, "We're sorry, ring this number." Just 'cause it's terrible a lot of the time.
Unmissable drama.
Yes.
Shit. Wow. Well, I think we've reached a bit of a stalemate there.
It's not for us that we're just putting our cases forward for Harold, for Irene, for whatever.
Exactly. Let the dear listeners decide who is the better character, Rini or Harold. Tell us on the socials. You guys are on all the socials, right? Coastal News, Coastal News Pod.
Yeah. Coastal News Pod. Yeah.
You guys are on Twitter as well.
We are.
That must be.
You're not.
We need to get back on that. It's ridiculous. Can we need to somehow get back on.
You will have to set that up, Adam, because they know my IP address.
No.
What have
you
you
know
done?
where I live.
We need the story of what happened with your Twitter account because I don't think we know.
We will tell you that when we stop recording.
Yeah.
That we can do that on episode 2. If people like this one, give us a, like it, give us a review on all the podcast things. If people like it, we might do another one. Because like you said, there's a lot of different categories we can have. There's a whole cavalcade of characters on both shows. So
we'll battle it out again, I'm sure.